I'm Jason Mefford, and I'm here with Brad Miller. And today we're going to talk about love, light, and donkey dicks. so, so just get everybody laughing right to begin with, right? And again, if you know me, I am a very colorful person in every different way, including my language. So I think the term donkey dicks is just hilarious. And so, Brad, why don't you just kind of give a background for people on why this is what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll get started heading down that path.
Yeah, well, the fun part is that this actually wasn't your idea. This is
No, it
actually my
wasn't.
idea.
It sounds like
So when we're
something
talking
from
about your,
me, but it's like you've got reserved Brad over there, and it's like I hear him say donkey dicks, and I'm just rolling on the floor.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so
so so
Brad,
what is
give us a background. Give us a background.
yeah? What do donkey dicks have to do with being spiritual, right?
Yeah. And
Um,
love and light,
well,
right?
yeah. Well, I mean, love and light. I think you probably heard a lot of people talk about, people who are maybe spiritual or kind of new agey, and they're all like, "Oh, love and light," and sharing love and light, and that's kind of the idea of kind of living in this spiritual ethereal realm, maybe that we're so focused on our spirituality, and that's kind of what we're spending all of our time in and everything else. But the donkey dick part is to remind us that, as great as that all is, we still live here in this world. We have these physical meat sacks we call a body, this 3D world we have to live in. And so just kind of a reminder that despite all these things and the spirituality and things we're talking about, we still have to remember we are physical people living in this body. And you can't just be all love and light. You also have to be the donkey dicks too. So
Well, I think it's funny because, again, I mean, there's some people that are like, oh, people saying love and light. I don't like that. Well, I
mhm.
do, and I say that a lot of the time. Um, and
I
there's
don't say it, for instance. Yeah. Like I like, for me,
you
that
you
doesn't
don't
really resonate.
it doesn't
Yeah.
resonate with
So
you, but for me, it does in a certain way, right? I mean, it's one of the terms that I was just listening to in some of the recordings that I listened to is talking about humans in our human form, and the fact that kind of this phrase that I just love is we're water walking the land carrying the light, right? So we're water walking the land carrying the light. And I'll let everybody who's listening, you go figure out what you think that means to you. But to me, it's a beautiful kind of analogy of, like you said, we've got this meat suit, we've got this body that we're in, but that's not who we really are, right? We're in this body, but we are literally this amazing ball of light, if you want to call it that. And for people who can see energy more or can kind of sense the energy, you know what I'm talking about. You can see light emanating from other people. And that's why sometimes, the soul, the spirit, depending on what term you might put on that, some people call it your light being, for that reason, right? And so I'm all about trying to spread light, right, to conquer the darkness, if you will, because there's a lot of dark in this world. There's a lot of donkey dicks that need the flashlight shined on them, shown, whatever. But also the reminder that I try to do things in the 3D with love and kindness, right? So yeah, you have a business to run, Brad. I have a business to run. I've got relationships, with other 3D people walking around here. But it's a reminder to me of, how I should be, right? And allowing the higher self to be the one who's in charge. Because a lot of times, like when somebody says something to you that's mean, our first reaction, right? We get triggered, boom. And our first reaction is to want to usually lash out at that person, throw
Call them a
anger.
donkey dick, for instance.
It's the
Right.
donkey dick, right? Throwing anger, throwing hate, whatever else towards this other person, because that's what they've thrown to us, right? And that's what the body would want to do, right? Put up your dukes, man. Let's start fighting. And literally, that, I mean, that's why people end up physically fighting too, right? But can we stop, at that point? And when those things are thrown to us, can we respond in a way where we're showing love and kindness in how we're responding, right? And so that's where I try to think about this and I don't get it right all the time. Sometimes I say things that I regret, right? Because I'm still human. But I'm really working on sending back out that love, doing things with kindness, regardless of how other people might be treating me, because I am trying to live my 3D life from my higher self. If that makes any sense. Maybe that's just all gobbledygook.
I'm sure. No. I mean, it's just, it's like a way, like you talked about, the way of being. It's the idea of, I mean, you look at it maybe as the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. Same sort of a concept. You want others to treat you with respect, with love, with kindness and compassion. And so that's what you do with others. You treat them that same way. And we talk to my daughter about that all the time. Like, how would you want to be treated? That's how you should treat the other person. They may make you upset, but if it was reversed, would you want them to lash out at you and call you a name? Or, how would that make you feel if you were in their position? Um, so yeah,
But
no, I mean, I think it's good. Yeah.
yeah, and I think actually, because bringing up the golden rule, I think is a great point too, to just kind of make a side point on is, I mean, for everybody that's listening, your spiritual path might be slightly different, right? I mean, you may kind of gravitate towards Eastern religion, let's say, right? Oriental Eastern religion, Buddhism, Confucianism, things like that, right? Other people, it might be their basis is kind of coming from Christianity, right? And the reason that I bring this up is the golden rule is a great example of truth that is planted everywhere. So when you go back and you look at, all of the holy people, the spiritual books that are out there, whether it's things from Lao Tzu, Confucius, Jesus, in the Quran, in the Torah, any of these spiritual books, the Kabbalah, any of these type of things, you're going to start to see some of these similar truths, right? And again, each religion then kind of takes, those are in there, but then they kind of layer their dogma and everything else on top of it. But the golden rule is one of those truths that regardless of maybe how you identify spiritually, it's a truth that we all should be living, right? And again, you can choose to live it or not live it, but if all the holy books are talking about it, and like we said, that's one of those things when we talked about Aini before too, right? Is what you put out is what comes back. And so again, if you want others to treat you a certain way, it's up to us to treat them in the way that we would like to be treated as well, regardless of how they choose to respond. And I think that is part of the spiritual path, because sometimes when somebody's being a donkey dick, it's hard, man. It's hard because you just want to punch them back, right? But are we going to allow ourselves to, be driven by our human body experience, or are you going to allow your higher self to be the one that's in charge and choose how you're going to respond?
And I think that's a good point that I don't know if we've actually touched upon up to this point yet, but everybody's on their own path. Everybody, what spirituality means to you is whatever it means to you. Like there's no rights, there's no wrongs, and things like that. But you can base the spirituality on Eastern thinking, Eastern beliefs. You talk about Confucianism, Buddhism, Hinduism. You can base it on more of the Western European beliefs, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. You can do it more on Native
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 American.
American, or different ancient Celtic beliefs or Aboriginal beliefs, or wherever. Your sense of spirituality can be based on any of those things, because like you said, they all have these kernels of truth that are kind of common between all of them, and those are really the important parts to latch onto. And this idea of the golden rule, about Aini, about kind of putting out what you want to come back to you, those are all things that you can find in the various different ways of thinking, religions, or whatever, regardless of where it's coming from.
Yeah, and even some of the things that we've talked about before, like connectedness, being one with everything. We are all one. Right. And what I do to myself, or what I do to Brad, I'm doing to myself, and I'm doing to everything. Right. I mean, there's a saying in because I'm also a public speaker sometimes, right? And one of the things that you're taught as a public speaker is what you do to one person, you're doing to everyone in the audience. Okay. So what that means is, for example, if I'm up speaking and I call out somebody, or I start talking to one person individually, everyone else in the audience feels like I'm talking to them. So if I'm up there, obviously, I mean, depending on the message that I am trying to deliver, I would want to have my interaction with that one person be the kind of interaction that I would want everyone to benefit from. Right. And so again, it's a simple example. It's a 3D thing, and it's nothing about me, but it just kind of shares the feeling. Is one of the times I called for a volunteer to come up and kind of do some role playing with me on the stage, right, as kind of an example of some of the concepts that I was talking about. Now, when the person left, I said, "Well, wait just a minute," and I pulled out my wallet and I got out $100 bill. And I said, "Thank you," right, and gave him $100 bill. And the person's like, "What? No, no, I can't do that. No, please take it." Right. And so, not only my interaction with that person in sharing the experience, sharing the learnings, everyone else was learning from that. But the fact that I, volunteer, she didn't know she was going to get the money, but me giving it to her was like me giving that to everyone in the audience. That feeling, that sense of connectedness was there as well, even though I only did it to one person. Right. And so again, as we're thinking about things like the golden rule, realize that how you are treating one person in this world has ripple effects to everyone else in this world, whether you realize it or not. Right. So if you're a donkey dick or you're an asshole to somebody, that negative energy ripples out throughout the world, and other people besides that person you're interacted with energetically are affected. And maybe even more importantly, you are affected, right? Because again, it's that boomerang, if you will, that we kind of talk about with Aini. And one way to always remember it is, if you ever point your finger at somebody, right? Brad, I'm pointing my finger at you. you got 3 of them coming back at you, right? And so again, whatever I do to Brad, right? If I'm a jerk to Brad, well, that jerkiness is going to come back to me multiple times, right? And so that's why some of these principles like Eine, like the golden rule, are so important for you if you are trying to evolve spiritually, because not only are you helping other people, you're helping yourself, but you're helping the collective, right? And I think that's why a lot of times, love and light does resonate with me, and it's fine that it doesn't with Brad. There's other terms. I mean, he still believes a similar concept. Those words just don't necessarily resonate with him, and that's fine too. But it's what we're doing to ourselves, what we're doing to other people, does have a huge energetic impact on the whole planet, on everyone and everything on it, and even out into the cosmos, as far as your 3D mind can think about it. So I'll just stop there.
Infinity and beyond.
To infinity and beyond, Buzz Lightyear, right?
Mhm.
But it's seriously true. It's not just like ha 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 ha. No, that really is the case.
So how do you know that, Jason? That's the question. I'm sure people were like, well, how does he know that that's the case, that infinity and beyond and all that stuff? Like, that's all great and dandy, but
Because I've felt it, I've sensed it, I've experienced it. And I know it's hard to kind of wrap our mind around it. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it, right? But as I sit and meditate and I think about and I do send out love and light, I can feel that when I do that, I'm positively impacting the world, right? And I know that every good interaction that I have with someone else will get carried forward somehow. Even if you just think about it in a 3D sense, right? I mean, you go to the grocery store, you don't have to talk to the cashier, right? You don't have to. You can be a jerk, you can be a donkey dick to them if you're not having a good day. But again, what you do to that person is going to get rippled out, right? So if you're a jerk to the cashier, well, they're probably going to be a jerk to somebody else, because the energy that you're giving them, they're going to have to take that out somewhere else, right? And most people are not good at just being able to transmute it and not pass it on. And so there's going to be some way they're going to pass it on to somebody else, and then that person is going to pass a little bit on to somebody else, and that person is going to pass a little bit on to somebody else. And so every action that we have is like throwing a pebble in the pond. It ripples out, right? Now that's if I'm a jerk, right? So what if I flip it around? What if instead, right, I notice a person's name because they're probably wearing a name badge, and I'd say, oh, Joanne, I hope you're having a wonderful day, right? Or I don't know, I just try to say something or do something out of love and kindness for this other person who is in this world with me, to try to make their life a little bit better. And it doesn't have to be anything big, right? But one of the codes of conduct that I live by is leave everything as good or better than you found it.
I actually just said that to
Leave
my daughter last night.
everyone as good or better than you found it, right? And so I mean, that's kind of the code of when you're hiking and everything, right? Leave
Leave no trace. Yeah.
no trace, right? And it's not just about leaving no trace, but to me, it's about trying to leave things better, right?
Mhm.
Is there a way, is there something that I can do today to make this world a better place than it was yesterday? And so, hey, we're recording this podcast, right? And some people are going to be like, oh, I hate you guys. I don't like what you're doing. Fine, whatever, right?
We don't
But
care about them
hopefully,
anyway. So.
yeah, well, you can stop listening whenever you want to. But again,
Mhm.
I mean, our intention is that by doing this and having people listen to it, it's going to help them. It's going to make their life better. It's going to help them along their spiritual path, right? And therefore, too, everything that they do, they will hopefully be doing from a higher self perspective, and they will be, elevating the frequencies, providing more love and light to this world, right? Because a lot of people say, man, there's a lot of evil and there's a lot of darkness in this world. And there is evil, there is darkness in this world, right? We don't have to judge it, but what can we do, right? Not to fight against it, right? And we'll talk about this later, probably, about as above so below, and the duality, and that's part of, universal law. But it's not about fighting it, but what can you do to balance or make better? And that example of the cashier is just a simple one, right? But everybody listening, you can think about different ways that you could do things to make this world a better place, even if it's just by a little bit each and every day.
Yeah, the 3D kind of example of that last night, I went with my daughter. We went out to eat, and the table was kind of dirty from people who had been there before us, and so we ate. We kind of moved the stuff out of the way and ate. And we were getting ready to leave, I reminded my daughter, "Hey, you need to make sure that you clean up the table, and not just clean up your stuff, but we want to make sure that we leave the table as good as, or if not better than when we found it." And so that's kind of the idea of paying it forward, the idea of kind of what comes around, making things better for the next person. I mean, all these things are all kind of interplay that way.
Yeah. Well, and Brad, I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, because like I said, I know for me the term love and light does
Mhm.
does resonate, and I will say that to people. I mean, I don't say it all the time. It's only to certain people who kind of understand it, if you will. But what kind of resonates with
Mhm.
you, or how do you kind of describe that for people that might be more like you, or might have some other way of thinking about it?
Well, I think that for me, there's a lot of negative connotation around the idea of love and light. Like we kind of, to me, it's something that people, kind of these new agers kind of spout out, love and light, to the point where it almost becomes kind of a butt of the joke. That these people are saying it, but are they really doing it? Is it just something that makes them feel good? But behind the scenes, then are they, cussing out the person at the cashier or something, or calling them a donkey dick, those kind of things.
Yep.
And so to me, that the idea of that kind of love and light is kind of carries that stigma along with it. So I guess instead for me it's more of just kind of the feelings of kindness, the feelings of compassion and sharing love. Even though you may not say it or think about it in the same sense as, like, I love my daughter, or I love my wife, or I love, the cat that's laying here on the floor sleeping next to me, that kind of love. It's a different kind of love. And so it's maybe not as easy for people to kind of grasp just by without some context, but just kind of the kindness, compassion, sort of an idea of making people happy. That's and my part of what I do, my focus is trying to help lawyers be happy. I want them to be happy with their lives. I want them to be happy with their law practices. um Obviously I want them to be happy. I want people to be happy with what's going on. I want them to have a great experience here on the planet. As lawyers, there's enough of of lawyers who are depressed and dealing with mental health and substance abuse issues and all that kind of stuff. And so, being happy to me is really important, I think, for lawyers. Remembering why we do what we do, not just because we're trying to get a paycheck or get a fee from a client. But beyond that, even the fact that when you are happy as a lawyer, that impacts your clients. The kind of the idea of happy lawyers leads to happy clients. Because if you're happy, if you enjoy what you're doing, if you are not worried about or thinking about all the negative stuff going on, you're focused on what's going to be in the best interest of your clients, what's going to make them happy. How can you create a great experience for them, so that they enjoy working with you? I know that's sacrilegious saying enjoying working with a lawyer, but it can happen. Like it could be, the clients can be happy and enjoy working with a lawyer. And so, if I help lawyers be happy, that's going to carry on to their clients. And then ultimately that's going to spread to others as well beyond that, because they're going to have a great experience. They're going to share it with others. They're going to take the happiness, the good feelings they have, and they're going to compliment the cashier as opposed to calling them a donkey dick. They're going to use their name. They're going to clean the table. They're going to, go the extra step to help somebody and kind of keep that moving and let that roll. So
No, and I
it's a
think
long
that's
way.
it.
Hopefully I answered your question there, but
No, you did, and that's why, again, I think, we talked about words before, and for each person, different words maybe have different power or resonate with you differently. But hopefully everybody can see we're talking about the same thing, right? We're just using different words necessarily to describe it, but it's the same thing. And I think, bringing up that example of, lawyers or a law practice is important too for this concept, because I know at the beginning, we talked about, we're still in this 3D body, right? And I think for a lot of people on a spiritual path, they think that they can compartmentalize their lives, right? That well, in my personal life, I'm going to act this way, and I'm going to be spiritual, and I'm going to be love, and I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to make people happy. But when I'm at work, I'm going to be an asshole, and I'm going to manipulate the shit out of people. And I just want to get rich, and I'm greedy son of a bitch trying to make money. And then when I leave work, then I'll go back to being a nice person. That ain't
rainbows,
how.
unicorns at home, and
Yeah. Rainbows, unicorns at home, and asshole and donkey dicks at work.
donkey dick. It's
Donkey,
exactly.
we got to get donkey dick in.
How many times can we get it in the episode? I think
I don't
that's what we
know.
should be keep tracking. We'll have to go back and listen and see.
Yeah, but that's how so many people in this world live their life, thinking that they can compartmentalize like that. But you cannot do that. You cannot do that if you are truly on a spiritual path. You have to learn how to be the same person, live from your higher self, regardless of what activities you are doing. Because if you're manipulating, if you're greedy, if you are controlling in your work, and you are sucking, right, people that you are with dry, if you will, that carries over into everything else. So if you're showing up that way at work, and then you're coming home and trying to meditate and woo 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 rainbows and unicorns, good fucking luck, because it doesn't work that way, right? And so we have to start learning how to incorporate and live from our higher self. You don't have to manipulate somebody to have them pay you money. If you serve them, if you do a good job, if you help make them happy, they will give you money, right? But it's usually from a 3D perspective, we always think it's the other way around. That we got to play by the rules that the world tells us that we have to do, but that's not how the universe actually works, right? And so I hope too that that's one point that everybody kind of gets from this is quit trying to compartmentalize your life, because it doesn't work that way, right? And again, it's like the people who go to the mega churches on Sunday and praise Jesus and whatever else, and for an hour or two they're all spiritual. The minute they get back out in the car and somebody cuts them off in the parking lot, they start flipping them off and yelling at them and cursing at them, right? It's like, don't do that. Don't do that, right? Because you've just taken away, a lot of what you have just done, right? It's like going to the gym. I actually used to do this. I'd go to the gym, I'd be riding my bike, and I'd see how many calories I burn, right? And it's like, I don't know, in a half hour, it's like 250 calories, right? Not really that many, right? So I could go have a cherry hostess pie. Love those things. I still indulge myself sometimes when I'm out on the road with those. 400 calories for one of those. Or you could go get a monster cheeseburger that's 1,000 calories, right? So don't think that just because you're riding the exercise bike for a half an hour and you burn 250 calories, if the rest of your life, right, if you're just eating the cheeseburgers and the soda and the Snickers bars, right, and consuming 3,000 calories a day outside of the gym, how do you ever expect to lose any weight or get fit? Right? But man, I'm on my bike every day for 30 minutes, and then I treat my body like shit the rest of the day. What's going to win? What's going to win? And unfortunately, a lot of people, and I share your sentiment. And again, it's not judgment, but there are a lot of people who say love and light, love and light, love and light, and they don't really mean it, right? Because they're the people who are spending 30 minutes on their meditation mat, like they're 30 minutes on their exercise bike, and then the rest of their life is shit. It don't
Yeah,
work that way.
You can't be a weekend spiritualist. Like
No.
you can't be spiritual on the weekends and in the evenings, maybe when you get home, and then the rest of your day you're a donkey dick. Like it doesn't work that way. You've got to be, you got to carry out throughout the day. And so that's one of the challenges I think for a lot of people, in fact, is how do I take these things that I'm doing and make this a 24/7 part of my life, not just the 30 minutes I'm at the gym, or the 30 minutes I'm on the yoga mat meditating, or the time I'm spending at church or whatever like that. How do I make this part of who I am? And the idea of identity being, I mean, that's something I'm sure we'll talk more about, is to really make this part of who you are at a core level.
Yeah, I can, and we'll get more into that too. And I mean, we've shared some of them already with people, but often it's the little things,
Mhm.
right? So again, if we take this analogy that we had before, right? I spend 30 minutes on the mat, or on the bike. Man, I'm really hungry. I want to get something to eat. I walk into the store and I look and I see that cherry pie. And it's like, oh man, I really would like one of those cherry pies. But sitting right next to it is, I don't know, a pickle. Well, I don't know why pickle came in, but we're talking about donkey dicks. So
Donkey dicks.
pickle,
That's
whatever,
why.
right?
Yeah.
Phallic vegetable. Okay. But
Eggplants. Yeah.
eggplants, whatever. Right. So if now I have a choice, right? Do I pick the cherry pie or do I pick the pickle? You can choose, right? But it's about the awareness and about the little things as you're going throughout your day of just making yourself more aware. You get to choose. Sometimes I'll choose the cherry pie, right? But hopefully more of the time I pick the healthier option, the one that's better for me, better for my body. right? And again, it doesn't mean that I'm not human. I'm not going to make some mistakes. There's nothing wrong with cherry pies. I love them, right? But if all I ate was cherry pie, I wouldn't be very healthy. But could I have one once a month and it wouldn't be a problem? Probably, right? And so that's where it's about the awareness. It's about starting to incorporate some of these simple little practices, that we're talking about, or that are kind of weaved into a lot of the podcasts as well. Is, when you wake up in the morning, can you make today a better day than yesterday was? Can I be a little nicer? Can I be a little kinder? Can I be loving to myself and to other people, even just for a little thing, right? Can I make today a little better than yesterday? And if you're doing that, then you're following the path, right? Because I think that's the other thing is, a lot of times people think, oh, I'm just going to go sit on the yoga mat for an hour and or whatever, and now I'm going to be all whatever. It don't work that way. It's the little things, it's the consistency every day. And that's why people fall off the path, right? Because sometimes the small and simple things, it takes commitment, it takes dedication, it takes discipline to do those little things every day, right? But it's the same thing with weight loss again, right? I mean, if you think about it, I can't remember what it was. It was orange juice. I think if you have a little, like one glass of orange juice every single day, like the whole year, you'll add 5 pounds, right? If like just incrementally, something like that. And I might be wrong in it, but it's just an analogy, right? But something like that every single day, a little thing every day can add like 5 pounds to your weight, right? So what are things that work the opposite way, right? Switching from drinking a soda every day to drinking, something with less calories, just switching from soda to water, right? I mean, I've seen this myself. I've seen this in other people as well. People just stop drinking soda every day, and at the end of the year, they've lost like 20 pounds, and they didn't even do anything different. All they did different was they stopped drinking soda, right? So think about those things that are hurting your higher self, that are like drinking soda, right? If
Spiritual
driving,
soda.
spiritual soda, find out what your spiritual soda is, and can you stop doing that thing, maybe, right? Not get triggered by traffic, right? Imagine how much energy you drain getting mad about traffic, something that you can't control. So that's kind of what I would say. And that's what I've been trying, that's what I've been doing, right? Is finding what are those spiritual soda things that are taking my energy, taking my power from me every day, and what could I replace with something else that's healthier and better for my higher self.
She's my cherry pie.
Good song, good song, good song.
There you go. Cool. Well, anything else you want to add to that? I think we kind of talked enough about donkey dicks for today. Unless you got anything else you want to add to that.
No, I think, like I said, I
Um,
think there's a lot of information today, right? And I think it's just trying to think again, whatever the words are, but can you be more kind? Can you be more loving today? Can you be better today than you were yesterday? Right? Can you think about where you could make better choices and swap out the cherry pie for the pickle, or figure out, hey, is there something that is like that spiritual soda that's kind of draining you each day, and just start doing little changes every day, right? and realize that you can't compartmentalize your life. You can't be an asshole at work and then think that you're going to be this spiritual person in your personal life. You have to be authentic and aligned in everything that you are doing. So Brad, you got anything else?
I'm donkey decked out, I think. So so
I hope everybody else is laughing with us too, and not just at us. But
with us, at us, it's all the same. It's
all
still
right.
good.
As long, well, because again, as long as you're laughing, you're happier, right? If you're
There
laughing,
you go.
you're happier. So laugh at us, laugh with us. I don't care. If you're laughing and you're feeling better, that was my intention, right? That was my intention. Just help you feel a little bit better. And it's one of those little things.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for continuing to listen and put up with us. Provided that we don't get kicked off the air for our excessive use of donkey dicks today, we hope to see you guys next time. In the meantime, if you found value of this conversation, I mean, good luck. Thank Godspeed to you. But if you did find this valuable and enjoyable, maybe some entertaining, go ahead and share it with your friends and loved ones and the lady at the checkout line at the grocery store as well. Share the love, pass it forward, and with that, we will see you guys next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody.